Welcome to r/AskReddit. What is something you were taught in school? Any age? That is incorrect. In high school my English teacher did word of the day, where we learned word spelling, pronunciation, and its definition. I was taught that the word queue is pronounced quee. Said it incorrectly until college. Sigh. In preschool, we were told that our gingerbread man snack for the day had walked off. We then went on a mini trek across the building and found their whole basket on the counter of the lobby. We then ate their legs once we got back to our room to keep them from running away again. Come to find out, gingerbread men are not alive and do not move as sentient beings. That different parts of the tongue taste different tastes. That I wouldn't get paid to stare out a window all day, when in fact I drove a dump truck for several years. In biology class the teacher said people with cystic fibrosis can't get married to normal people and their disease is contagious and they only can marry those who have cystic fibrosis. So I didn't like what she said because it felt wrong and I had to ask my brother, who is a doctor, and turned out it was the other way around. In fact people with cystic fibrosis can't get near each other and it's no contagious. And when I told my teacher she yelled at me saying that she is the one teaching not me and I was too polite to respond. Your blood is blue until it hits oxygen then it turns red. I remember a teacher saying that the Empire State Building was the tallest building in the world. This was in the 90s, when the Sears Tower was the tallest. We lived near Chicago, too. You are not going to always have a calculator with you when you grow up. Double quote. Ends up having a full-on computer connected to the internet at all times. Had a math teacher in high school that insisted consonant was consonant. Drove me nuts. The sun is not a star, it's a sun. Comets on the other hand are stars. Elementary school art teacher made the entire class laugh at me because my stars on the night sky I was painting were just dots and the comets were lines, while stars have to have 5 points. Still am mad about that one 18 years later. Damn you Miss Shepherd, and OFC no one remembered, years later when we learned that our sun is a star. We can be anything that we want to be if we set our minds to it. We were told that birds were very clever for not getting electrocuted on power lines. Why how? We asked. Just because they are really clever. And I is correct. And me is never correct. I still find myself accidentally, incorrectly correcting myself by switching to and I when and me is the correct usage. My 7th grade science teacher taught the class that all fish breathe fresh water, completely disregarding all the fish in the sea, and gave me a detention for pointing out that some fish breathe salt water. The same teacher also said that fish can only breathe in chlorinated tap water. Chlorinated water kills fish just as much as chlorine gas kills people. I was given another detention for pointing this out. That only the Japanese Americans were in US internment camps during World War II. The German Americans were also in US internment camps at that time. We had a textbook with a really sketchy graph describing the average mental and physical power of humans throughout the day. Only the x-axis had a legend with the hours. Y-axis had nothing. Graph showed a rise around 7 AM with a peak at 1 PM, a little slope and another peak at around 3 PM. Slowly declining afterwards. Also with the lowest point at around 3 or 4 AM. I always wondered what and how this shit was measured. There were no sources or anything and it wasn't even biology class. So I never could grasp why we needed to learn such bullshit. My teacher would always pronounce sword with the W sound and I guess she was trying to get us to spell it correctly, but I was just confused on what the hell a sword was. That men have fewer ribs than women. My class did an experiment to prove this. We had different flavored things and placed them on different parts of the tongue. I noticed no differences. It tasted the same to me no matter what I did. But everyone was nodding their heads and the teacher was so confident. I spent years thinking my taste buds were broken. I was informed by my teacher that you cannot subtract bigger numbers from smaller numbers. I, E5-8, was very disappointed when I moved up grades. That human blood is blue. Never believed it due to my mother being a med tech. Would frustrate me so much when teachers would blabber that nonsense. My 6th grade social studies teacher told us Rome declined due to the breakdown of the nuclear family. He was so full of shit that like 75% of the stuff he told us about history was either wrong or complete speculation on his part. But he had such an entertaining and funny delivery, you wanted to believe it. In high school, a teacher asked if anybody knew how many days were in a year and someone replied 365. The teacher said that was wrong and someone else said 365. 1 stroke 4. Wrong again. At this point I was actually listening because here I was getting real knowledge. He went on to say that those answers were common misconceptions and that there are really 367 days in a year. I went home at night and dropped this info bomb at dinner. My dad looked up from his spaghetti and mumbled something about morons at public schools, then went back to eating. We never mentioned it again. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue and became the first European guy from Portugal to discover land in America, the West Indies, to prove the world was round, find a new trade route, and he was a great man, was a horrifying slaver, rapist, and genocidal maniac responsible for introducing the most devastating plague in history on a population of human beings, which ultimately killed 90% of the native population of the North America. In elementary school we were taught that as the weapons developed, knights needed to get armor that was heavier and heavier. Because of that they had to be lifted on horse by crane and that they were basically dead if they fell in any way. That is not true. Late medieval plate armor for battle purpose was pretty versatile and not much heavier than a modern soldier's load, and even distributed across the body. Only tournament armors were very heavy. Pilgrims and Indians sat down and had a wonderful feast together to celebrate friendship and partnership, and that is why we have Thanksgiving. Grew up in a Catholic school that constantly taught us that dressing prudently will cause God to protect us from evil men who wishes to sexually abuse us. Tell that to the little girl who was raped and killed during our 5th grade. Edit. It was an all-girls Catholic school, so it was the nuns that said it. And yes, they stopped saying it after the incident. I was taught that black people don't need sunscreen. She used the one black kid in class as an example. He told her he did in fact wear sunscreen and she just condescendingly laughed and sent him back to his seat. That the only senses are taste, touch, smell, hearing and sight. Those are the most obvious ones, but definitely not the only ones. I say this as an adult who had to learn what proprioception was very quickly due to certain circumstances. Sydney is the capital of Australia. I managed to find this in one of my project books from back then, so I wasn't misremembering. Thank you for making to the end. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos.